And after we're done ripping up all of the sod, we then take the mulch from last year's plot and spread it out over the whole area, as you can see here. And then this will get mixed in with a few other things that we're going to lay down. And then we're going to turn the soil using shovels. You can use a tiller, but that actually, if you over-till the soil, it becomes extremely detrimental to the soil because you're not giving it any chance to recover. So by hand turning it with shovels is actually the best way to do it if you're doing organic. Now that everything's ripped up and everything's spread out, this has become a open feeding ground for a lot of birds. We've been seeing a lot of chickadees, a lot of robins, a few other birds that I'm not sure what they are, just kind of around and pecking at the ground, looking for a tasty little worm. That's the wonderful thing about having your own garden, especially in your backyard or just about anywhere. You have your own little ecosystem that you can watch. You have the worms in the ground that provide food for the birds. You have other animals that come around. You have all sorts of insects that come around. You've got a whole nother world here that you can take full advantage of and watch. We're very fortunate here in our area of Minnesota that we get fireflies, and last year our garden attracted a great deal of fireflies. So hopefully it'll do the same this year. And we've had more than a few cardinals, which, you know, are uncommon out here. We're fortunate, very fortunate. And if you have your own garden, you'll be very fortunate too. After we lay down the mulch from last year, dead leaves and plant matter, we then lay down and spread that around. We then lay down a layer of sphagnum moss, which is the brown stuff that you see. This will help with both water retention and drainage. And because it'll create a wet, warm environment underneath the soil, this will help with decomposition underneath the soil, which then gives us plant food. You do not want to ever use plant food. You want to feed the soil to feed the plants. Feed the soil, especially if you're doing any kind of organic gardening. Feeding the soil creates much better results with things like mulch, moss, dead plant matter, manure. These things will feed the soil. By feeding the soil, you feed the plants. Okay, now that we've laid down the mulch and spread that out, and we've laid down the sphagnum moss and laid that down and spread that out, we're now turning the soil with a hand spade here, and we're just digging up the ground and turning it over. And then when we get far enough, we're going to take the cultivator and spread it out, break up the really big chunks, and this is just going to mix up the soil, just going to make it all one good gooey mess. That's what we're doing now, is we're just digging it up, turning it over, and then we're going to break it up and spread it out. It's a lot of work, yes, but this is about a weekend's worth of work. And then in a couple weeks, a week maybe, we're going to go ahead and plant. And when you're digging up your garden, you'll occasionally just find weird stuff. This is a bone. I'm not sure from what, probably a deer. We found a joint ball and socket, I think is what it's called, last year in our garden. My husband said that was probably from a deer. This is probably also from a deer. And a squished, rusted out coffee can. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Dug that up. As well as, oh yeah, turnip from last year's harvest. Don't know how that got there. And lots of rocks. Our house is built on what used to be an old limestone quarry, And so we've got, every year when we dig up, we've got lots and lots of rocks that just kind of appear. Hubby here is using a hand cultivator to break up all of those big chunks that were dug up when we were turning over the soil. Occasionally finding rocks and other debris. Last year we found a railroad tie. That was a little odd. But, you know, breaking up the soil like this, making it nice and loose, getting it ready for planting, this is what it's all about. This is all how it's done. If you feed the soil and you have nice big healthy worms and the birds come and the birds eat the worms and then the birds will poop in the garden, and as gross as that sounds, that's actually good fertilizer. You want that to happen. The worms will get nice big and fat, and then, you know, they'll have lots of poop, and that's compost. That's healthy living soil. You want a good ecosystem in a garden. And there it is. 25 feet of cultivated land, dug up, mixed up, and now ready for planting.